Hi YouTubers, so just want to talk to you today about this book, Pan by Knut Hamsun. Should you read it? No, I don't think so. I think that because of the plot, I think that, let's just be honest, it didn't really hook me. I mean, at the beginning it did hook me in, but after a while I understood that it was not hooking me in because I had this reluctance to read it. I was on the metro and I had this book in my bag and I thought, should I read this book or should I listen to music? And I made the choice of listening to music. When there's a book that I really enjoy, I make the choice to read the book and not listen to music. So from that I kind of understood that the book really did not hook me in, which is a shame because I do think that it's well written and I read it all the way through and I think it has an interesting character and an interesting plot, so maybe I was just not really in the right place or in the right mood to read it. But then I do think that if there's a good book that you as a reader enjoy, you will be hooked in, maybe because that's the topic that you enjoy. And I think largely, yeah, this topic is about, I still have no idea why it's called Pan, apart from Pan is, he has a model of Pan on a gun. I think, I mean, you're probably going to put in the comments below that I'm wrong. I think I missed so much that was in this book. I think a lot of it just went right over the top of my head. Possibly because I just wasn't, like I say, I just wasn't really interested. I found the character to be quite negative, which was funny because in Hunger the character is negative too. It's a toxic character, but I really enjoyed the read of Hunger. But in this in this book, he's toxic. Not in his general way of kind of. In Hunger, it's about how he walks around society and treats society, and he does that in a toxic way, and it's quite humorous. In this, it's about how he's treating these two women in his life, Edvarda and Eva, which is another thing that I really misunderstood, because they're called Edvarda and Eva, and for me, I was going, which one is which? Is that Edvarda or is that Eva? The names are very similar, and for my small little brain, I just couldn't figure it out. Like, I just forgot. I was reading to the end of the book and I went, what? Wait a minute. I can't figure it out. I feel pretty stupid. But yeah, I admit it. So yeah, and then he treats them really just nastily. He treats them with, like, just stupid. Like, once he's in a boat and he gets the shoe and he throws the shoe out of the boat because he's like feeling bitter towards Edvarda, I think it is, and somebody fishes the shoe back, and then later on Edvarda pays I think the guy who fished the shoe back. She gives him some money, and then our main character feels embarrassed or bitter about that he didn't pay for the money, and she made him look, you know, like an idiot. So it's like, yes, well, you threw the shoe in the water, you did act like a moron. So we have an unlikable character. I thought he was unlikable, unrelatable, just because he's doing really stupid things. The way that he acts towards men as well is in a bitter manner. That there's one character called the Doctor, and the Doctor ended up, I think, getting involved with Edvarda, and then he has this kind of argument with the doctor, like, I'm a better man than you are, which kind of shows that he's not, because if he was a better man than a doctor, he would just be like, it would have been like water off a duck's back for him. So the fact that he tries to go out and prove himself ends up disproving himself. So he comes across again as more of a moron. And so I really didn't feel for the character, which is perhaps another reason I didn't really like the book. Again, I think that the plot just wasn't gripping enough for me. I think there was a lot of conversations involved, a lot of, going to and fro, going here and there, walking to that place, walking to that place, walking through the forest. It's kind of the impression that I got from the book, was a lot of just, now we go here, now we go there, to and fro-in, with not really a lot of action happening. So I found it quite a lot of just waffle, that didn't really, when I read a story, it either goes into the story bucket or it just kind of shoots over the top. There are stories that I've read where I've just gone, wow, every word of this story is going into my story bucket, and it's really fueling the image that I have inside of my head of what is happening. This book, the words didn't go into that place. They just kind of went and floated around my mind, and then they will be forgotten. Because, I was not gripped, is the usual word that people use to describe a story. It did not grip me. I would say I would describe it like I just didn't really feel, the spice of the story. It was quite bland to me, is how I found it. Saying that, I did want to say that it kind of, so saying that about it being bland, it is incredibly poetic, and I think that if you're the type of reader who loves a very poetic and eloquent, very decorative style of literature, then you're going to love it, because that's what appealed to me within the first few pages. I was like, wow, this is it's prose, but it's written so beautifully, so poetically, that it on the back of the cover it actually says the work contains a harmony found only in the highest types of poetry. It is actually poetry set in prose and boasts the best traits of each. Isaac Bashevis Singer said that. And it does. It really does. The prose is great, and it's really poetic, and the descriptions of nature are just beautiful. And it reminded me. I've read Pinball 1973 by Murakami. What's his first name? Oh, these things just getting a worse memory as I get older. Haruki Murakami. Pinball 1973, which is very beautifully written, but it has no plot. And this does have a plot. I can say it has a plot. Just unfortunately, it seems quite, like I said, to and fro kind of plot. And but the way that when I read Haruki Murakami, I was like, wow, he describes seasons and weather and like the atmosphere of a place very beautifully, and that's the poetry in this book. The descriptions are very beautiful and very poetic, and I did enjoy those, and I think that's why I did persevere and read it to the end. Another thing regarding the character is that it did remind me a bit of Humbert in Lolita. There's nothing pedophilic in this book. Well, you might interpret it that way. I don't know, Edvarda and Eva, but I didn't find anything pedophilic in this book. But that kind of like despicable character who you just go, this character is just despicable. However, he uses beautiful language, which is very much what Humbert does. So, it's a different story than Lolita, obviously. It's a very different story than Pinball 1973, but I could make these links where you've got this poetic style and this despicable character. So that's about it for that book. Like I say, sometimes I think and then I come across a new thing, and I just wanted to say this. When I read, for example, Steinbeck, I was super impressed by his work of Mice and Men, and then I read and I thought, this is amazing, I found an author who I really like. And then I read something else by the same author, and I like Sweet Thursday, and I go, I don't get this at all. What's he going on about? I don't like it. And I realised that there are some authors which I like every piece of work they do. Everything that I've read from Bukowski, I've loved it. Everything that I read from Ayn Rand, I've loved it. What else? Everything that I've read from Paulo Coelho, I've loved it. So those are three authors I can just list off the top of my head. And then there's authors who I find that I go, wow, by the way, John Fante, everything that I read by John Fante, loved it. But there's authors that I go, wow, this work is great, and then I read like the next book and I go, oh, this is not that good really. And that's how I felt about Steinbeck, who I would say great author, but some of his works I really do and have enjoyed much more than some of his others. Travels with Charlie was okay. So I think the same has just happened to me and Knut Hamsun. When I read Hunger, I was like, this is fantastic. When I read Pan, I go, I don't get it. I'm not feeling the spice of this book. So that's a good place to end. See you later.